Hey everyone, this is Melissa Siudakis, and welcome to A Breath of Fresh Marketing. We're here tonight with one of my favorite comedians, Carmen Lynch.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. So, for everyone at home who's listening, Carmen Lynch has been featured on multiple late night shows, appeared in numerous primetime shows, and has a #1 comedy album. Carmen, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I live in New York. I've been doing stand-up for about, maybe 18, 19 years. And it's been a while. And now clearly there's no stand-up. So I'm just at home making videos and writing and hoping that 2021 will be more, will be more productive. But yeah, I guess I just tour a lot. I did tour a lot before COVID. And then I also do stand up in Spanish. My mom's from Spain and I'm fluent in Spanish. So that's been very exciting and challenging to just do it in 2 languages. So yeah, that's my life, but it's just paused right now.
I hear you. This COVID, it's like, I'm so over it, but it's like you can't be because it's getting worse, It's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good material from it though.
Yeah, there is material. I've moved in. I've lived with my boyfriend's family for a couple of months during quarantine. I've lived with my parents for a little while, and now I'm quarantining. Well, I'm in Queens, so I have a lot of material from just being around a bunch of different people. It's the only positive side is that there are a lot of stories when you're stuck with people.
Oh, for sure. I was living in Bayside for a while, so I was in Queens, and then I moved out to Long Island last December.
Oh, that's nice. It's probably more relaxing out there.
It is, it is. So definitely the honking of horns and the motorcycles and cars racing on the Cross Island at night. Like I don't really miss that soothing sound that I went to sleep to every night.
Yeah. I was happy that I left New York for a little while, that I was gone for 3 or 4 months. And I have to say, like, COVID sucks, but it is kind of nice to be home at night for once and cook and once in a while and watch Netflix at a decent time. So, I'm just trying to get that all in while there's no stand-up comedy because it does feel good to be a normal person for a little while.
Oh, for sure. What's it like watching yourself on TV? You ever like sit there and get some popcorn and you're like, I'm gonna watch myself, and like do you sit there and like critique yourself?
No. No, never. I did something for HBO Max. I did a 10-minute, it was like a special, and there were maybe 5 or 6 of us, and we all did 10 minutes. And I remember the response was really good. And it was right before COVID. It was like February or early March, and I still haven't seen it. I don't like watching myself. But I've heard that's very normal. So
Yeah,
it's hard. I just criticize myself. If I start watching myself, I'm like, why are my feet like that? Or why does my hair look like that? And it's too hard to do that.
I remember one time, like 100 years ago, I was on one of those like stupid reality shows, and I remember I got
Which one?
Oh gosh, you're gonna make me go there, huh?
Please. Yeah.
Do you remember Judge Mills Lane?
No.
Okay, good. Woo. So he was like the old Judge Judy, like male version.
Okay.
And he was like this hardcore judge, and he, real life judge, but it was still like a reality show. And he was older, like way older. And I went on a show, and I remember like got my hair done, my makeup done. I wore a suit, want to look really good. It's like, court TV. And I remember watching myself. I was so excited when it finally came out. I couldn't wait to see. Oh, and I won, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. So,
Wow.
but I remember watching myself and I was like, oh my gosh, look at my face. It looks like weird and distorted and it looks heavier than it normally looks. And I hated the way I looked, you know?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
totally get that because that's what I focus on, and it's so stupid because we should just love ourselves, but it's so hard. Even when I do 5 minutes on a late night set, it's easier to do the first part where you just go there and, obviously you're nervous because you're like, oh my God, I'm about to meet Conan or Letterman or Fallon or whatever. But then I find the day that it airs, which is usually for me, it's been the next day. I find those next 24 hours excruciating because I'm like, oh my God, am I going to like look like fat or am I going to look stupid? And, you just start putting all these negative thoughts in your head
Yeah.
for no reason, I guess. Yeah.
It's the worst feeling. And I don't know, like, do you get super nervous to the point where you're gonna like throw up or have diarrhea or something? Like, how do you feel like right before you come out on stage?
I get very anxious and fidgety, so I definitely have to go for a run or meditate or something before I do it. Or I'll just be too jittery, There's like almost like too much energy inside of me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I get really nervous speaking in front of people, and it took me like a long time to get used to that. And I'd clam up, and my face would get red, and I'd start sweating, and then my stomach would feel all weird, and I
Mhm.
felt like I was gonna puke everywhere. And I was like, I hated it. Like public speaking, they said, is like the number one fear, and people would rather be dead than speak publicly.
But
Crazy.
I think after a while you do get used to it because a lot of times after a show, audience members will come up and be like, I don't know how you do it. They say that to everyone. They'll be like, I don't know how you do it. I'm just too scared to be on stage, and I think they think that we weren't ever scared to be on stage. But no, we were there too. We just kind of just did it anyway.
Right.
It's not like we weren't scared on stage and that's why we're comics,
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
I think everyone definitely struggles with, their own level of nervousness for sure before they come out, and you got cameras in your face and all these people there watching you and analyzing like every little thing, your hair, your makeup, what you're wearing, right?
So, before you were a comedian, you majored in pre med and applied to the FBI, which I did not major in pre med, but I did also apply to the FBI. So, that's funny. Yeah.
Really?
Uh,
How far did you get?
they sent me a letter that said I was accepted and to go to Quantico, Virginia.
Oh my God, that's great. That's way more than I did.
Yeah, I turned it down.
Yeah.
It just, at that point in my life, I wasn't ready for that. And that was it. I took everything in a different direction career wise. But, for you, how did that trajectory of events lead you to comedy?
Well, I was pre-med in college because I wanted to be a doctor for so long. And then I think after the second semester, I was like, this is not for me. It was just too complicated. And I knew if I couldn't get through chemistry, I'm like, I'm not going to get through physics. Like, this is not good. So I just realized I'm like, I'm not happy. I think I just wanted to be a doctor because it sounded cool. And I love, I love medicine in general, but it just wasn't for me as a career. So then I tried to apply for the FBI and, that didn't work either. And I think I just wanted to be an FBI agent, I think, because it was like cool to be, like what's her face from Silence of the Lambs. I really had, Clarice, that's her
Yes.
name.
Dr. Lecter, my name is Clarice Starling.
But
Can I speak with you?
But I grew up in Virginia, so Quantico was something that I would drive by, and I just would get so excited, and then I kept asking them if they needed new agents, and then one day they called. They're like, we need people who are fluent in Spanish, so I applied, and I did not get as far as you did. I took the first portion of the test, and then like a month later got the skinny envelope. So I think I'm a comedian because, I tried a bunch of things and none of them thankfully worked.
Nice.
I think a lot of things that I tried just didn't work. And looking back, I'm grateful because if they had, I probably wouldn't be doing stand up.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, your own path is kind of made for you, I believe, that you're just destined to be what you're supposed to be. And
Yeah.
like you're trying to figure it out on the way, and then all of a sudden, poof, there you are on live TV, and you're telling jokes and making people laugh. And that's what you were destined to be doing, is making people laugh and feeling good. So
Yeah, it's weird, especially if you don't. I never expected that. And when I have people that I've known for years come see me that I haven't talked to in like 20 years or something, and they come see me, sometimes they're like, I can't believe you do this. And I'm like, yeah, I can't either. This was not something I ever expected to happen, which is kind of the fun thing about it.
yeah, definitely.
So if you look back and you had to say, all right, well, these folks were my idols, who were your comedic idols when you first started out?
Well, I kind of fell into stand up by accident. So, but when I was a kid, I would just watch Carol Burnett and I Love Lucy reruns on TV all the time. Like if I was homesick or, whatever, they were my go-tos were Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball. I just thought they were always funny.
Oh yeah, definitely. I loved watching Carol Burnett, and I still have that theme song like stuck in my head.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So which has been your favorite city to perform?
My favorite cities, like one of them is actually New York City because it's so diverse and my stuff can get pretty dark. So it's nice that there's such a balance of different opinions out here where like something can work. And even if half the audience likes it, that's just good. That's good enough. Sometimes you go to the Midwest and just a joke, just it's crickets. Like nobody gets it, and I don't think that really happens out here because New York is just such a mix of people. It's just fun because someone will get the joke, and it's more fun that way. And I was just in Minneapolis. There's a great comedy club out there called Acme, and they always have just exceptional crowds. There are a lot of places I love going back home and then, driving to DC and doing shows there. And then I love British audiences. I love going to London and doing shows there. So there's just, they're all different, but there's just a lot of great crowds. There's a lot of great audiences. And that's the fun of it, is that they're all different.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any cities on the list that you'd like to hit, or any countries?
Well, I definitely would love to do more Spanish stand up and hit Mexico City and, hit Argentina. And I had a big tour coming up in Spain. Well, it was in May, but it got canceled because of the virus. So hopefully next year I'll be able to reschedule that. And it was like multiple cities. So I love to travel. So it's just an excuse to do stand up, is to just see new places too.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. So most of your jokes are about your life experiences. When something happens in your life, do you automatically know it's going to be part of your next routine, or do you just kind of bookmark it in the back of your head somewhere?
It's more like a bookmark. Like I put a lot of my notes in my phone because, the phone is obviously something we always have on us. And before we all had, phones, I would just carry like a little notebook in my purse. But now it's just easier to put thoughts or even like record myself on my phone. And then I usually transfer it into a notebook.
So do you have a favorite bit, or one that always gets a lot of laughs?
I try to mix it up a lot just because it makes it more fun for me. If I always do the same stuff, it gets a little boring for me. And I like to add new stuff all the time because I find that the new joke is the more exciting part of stand up. Once you know that something works, it's great. But I kind of know it's going to work everywhere. And then I don't put it aside, but I just try to like add new stuff to work into that set. But I would say I do have a couple of favorite jokes that are kind of long. But I do like to talk about my boyfriend. It's fun because it makes me laugh to know that he doesn't care. I love that he doesn't care, what I say. I mean, he's not there at my shows most of the time, so it's kind of fun. And my mom isn't either, and I like to talk about her too. It's very therapeutic.
What's kind of your favorite material to joke about?
God, probably family. My sister is a really good one. I love making fun of her. And I put my mom in a lot of stuff as well. My boyfriend lately, because we live together and been living together for a couple of years. So, it's basically whatever I'm around. Like if I go visit family, I usually come back with a lot of new material about them. But I would say it's like my day-to-day life and my relationships, mostly my boyfriends.
That's awesome. You have a joke you want to share?
Oh my God, I don't know. Let's see. I was quarantined with my parents for about a month. I went to see them.
Uh-oh.
So I have a lot of jokes about them. Oh yeah, I have this one. Well, I have one like say like, my boyfriend snores. So I'll say something like, my boyfriend snores so loud, I just want to roll him off the bed and down the stair traffic. They're kind of dark. But those are the ones that I like the most, the dark ones.
I like the dark ones too. That's something that, a lot of comedians are afraid to go there. And I think that's what makes them so highly effective because people think these things in their head, but they don't like to share them out loud because they're afraid of what people will say or what they'll think of them. So I love when comedians aren't afraid to go there,
Yeah, it's definitely once you get them out, it's easier to just keep going because you've like found this release and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna say whatever I want, and it feels really good. It's kind of like therapy.
I love that.
Do they ever call you up after and like, you can't believe you freaking said that about me?
Well, it's funny, like I'll warn them. Like when I did Fallon, actually they were both in it. My boyfriends, there were jokes about my boyfriend and there were jokes about my parents. So I'll just give them a heads up. I'll be like, you're in my set tonight, just a heads up. And they're like, okay. I mean, they don't care. They think it's kind of funny and cool.
That's pretty awesome. Are you friends with like other female comedians or is it one of those things where you kind of like see each other and you look at each other like, yeah, whatever?
Oh no, a lot of my friends are comics. It's what I do most of the time. So, it's only natural that we would hang out. Especially now because, we all kind of struggle in our own way, like with like, where's our career going or what are we going to do at, the middle of this virus or whatever. And it's just nice to have friends who understand where you are and what their point of view is versus just like someone in a completely different job. I mean, I have civilian friends too, but it really does help to have, close friends that understand exactly what's going on with you.
That's cool.
Did you ever blank out on stage ever?
I did. I had a huge blank out when I was new years ago. I remember, because when you're new, you tend to write jokes like they're a script. So if you forget the script in your head, that's it.
Yeah.
What else are you going to say? You're just like up there alone without jokes. But now it's become such a normal part of my life to tell jokes on stage that even if I forget something, I just go on to the next thing.
So, did you ever get heckled?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many different types of heckles. Like it can be loud and annoying, but it could also just be like, people talking drunk or just being obnoxious and physically like maybe moving around, or they won't shut up and they won't stop laughing in a weird way. There's so many distractions, and it's not as annoying the longer you do it because you just feel more confident and you know what to say back to them. It's just annoying because it breaks your rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah, I could
And
see
then
that.
you just go like, why did you even come out if you're just going to act like this?
Ugh, that's so annoying and so obnoxious. I've been to so many different comedy shows, and there's always some jerk in the audience that you're like, ugh, sit down and shut up. You feel like throwing a bread roll at their head,
Yeah, and they always seem to be sitting in the front row. I'm like, why couldn't you just be in the back? Like, how did you get to the front table?
Ugh, so worse.
So you were mentioning earlier that you're bilingual, English and Spanish, and you're from Spain. You toured in Spain. Did you ever have an issue with your jokes not translating well because of the difference in language and culture? Do you have to tell your jokes slightly differently in Spain than you would here in America?
Definitely. I mean, one thing is just obviously the sentence structure is totally different. I can't just literally translate it. But also, some very subtle jokes and a certain subtle sense of humor, it'll get lost in translation. I have to either just not do the joke or completely change it. But I have done jokes in Spain. It's pretty funny. Like I'll do a joke in Spanish and it actually works better in Spanish. And I'm like, oh my God, I thought this joke wasn't going to work at all. And it actually works better in Spanish. So,
That's cool.
but yeah, it's kind of a challenge, but it's kind of a fun challenge. It's almost like a puzzle. Like, okay, how am I going to tell this joke? And and then I'm just very curious to see if they understand, because they have to understand the joke, but they also have to understand me, because I grew up in Spain, but I haven't lived there in so many years that sometimes my Spanish is more that of a child Spanish. Even if I'm fluent, it's like I don't have that everyday hip slang, that they have. So I'll probably say something in a way that actually makes them laugh, and then I'm like, oh, you're laughing at me, not the joke. You're laughing at how I'm saying this. But that's fine. I'll take it. It's a laugh.
Yeah, you get that laugh, right? That's pretty awesome. So you've traveled abroad to perform for the troops in Iraq and Kuwait. I mean, what was that like performing for them? I mean, was it, totally different experience-wise? Was there security clearance you had to get? Like, what was that like?
It was, I mean, it's pretty amazing to know you're going somewhere that you'll probably either never go to again or never would have gone if it wasn't for stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went to Baghdad when Osama bin Laden was shot.
Oh, wow.
So, a lot was going on over there, and there was a lot of security, very tight security. So it was very exciting as well, just to see how they took care of us and how they made sure that we were going to be okay. I mean, that certain people would never do that, and I've always been one of those people who's like, no, I want to go. I mean, even when there was a fight in high school, I remember you could see the crowds just gathering around the two people fighting, and I just had to always go see what was happening. I'm like, really, that's probably not the best thing to do, but anything like with adventure and travel and all that stuff, and of course performing for the troops, and that was great too, because it was we would go to bases where they didn't get a lot of entertainment, because they were small bases and they were secret bases. So it was nice to to be at those places where they really weren't getting any kind of entertainment. They were very grateful.
And then this like hot babe jumps up on stage, and they probably went like ballistic when they saw you.
Well, it's funny because like a lot of them were, fresh out of high school and in their early 20s, and they hadn't really experienced life yet. And here they are. So your jokes are kind of, you have to kind of change your jokes as well. I can't just tell them about, oh, my everyday life in New York City, because they can't relate to that. They're so young.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge in stand up too, is that, just because it works in one place, doesn't mean it's going to work somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I can see that. And then there was that 37 episode arc of that weekly web series Apartment C3 you did with your roommates. So what started that? And tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, that was, that's funny. I always thought it was 40 episodes, but maybe it was 37. That was we started that. That was actually really funny, really fun, because it was me and my roommate, Liz Mealy, who's also a comedian, and our third roommate, Chris Bongzawad, who's a photographer and a videographer. And we got stuck in one of those New York City hurricanes, and I can't remember which one. I think it was Sandy, but everything was shut down, and we just started shooting, like joking around, just shooting stuff with Chris's equipment. And that night we were like, we need to have a web series. Let's do something.
That's
so
awesome.
The very first episode is literally the night of that hurricane. I think I'm like, I don't know if you saw it, but I think I'm like stuck to the window.
Yeah.
And I can't move. That was like literally when we said, let's do this every week. And that's what we decided. We're like, it doesn't matter what we come up with, but every Monday we have to release something. And I think that's really the way to do something. Because sometimes I know I become very like perfectionist, and I'm like, this isn't right. This isn't perfect. But, then you stop yourself. So I think it's very important to just be like, no, whatever is done is done. We're going to put something out every week. And then we did it for 37 weeks. And then, Chris got busy, Liz got busy, I got busy. And then sadly it stopped.
Oh, well, are there any deleted episodes I can watch?
I don't think there's deleted episodes, but there's definitely deleted footage. But we tend to put the silly extra stuff at the end of the episode. So most of it is in there.
All right.
I think one time I fell into a bathtub or something, and I think that's in one of them. Yeah, the outtakes is really what it is. That's where all the gold is. Those are my favorite moments, for the moments that we screwed up. They're always funny.
I love that. That's like the real you,
Yeah, exactly.
So you made your debut appearance on the David Letterman show. What was going through your mind as you were walking out on stage? Were you like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit?
Well, it's very surreal, and it's the holy shit was there, but it had already been there for so long, because, it's a process to like pick the jokes and try them out and see if it's, the right length of time. So the holy shit it's just there. And then of course, when you get there, you're like, I can't believe this is happening. And then it's over so quickly, because it's like 4.5 minutes. And, once you're done, you're done. It's the preparation is a lot longer than the day of,
Yeah.
it's like a wedding, like, people, I've never been married, but, people plan their wedding. And then suddenly it's the day, and then it's over. And you're like, I just spent like a year planning my wedding. I mean, it's kind of like that. I mean, the stand-up thing may not be a year, but it was long, because a lot of times things will come up, like, the election. I think the second time I did Letterman, I think I had to push my date back because it was 2012. So, things happen, and then, you're like, oh my gosh, they're never going to call me. They're going to forget me. And then boom, they're like, we have an opening, some band couldn't show up or whatever. You just never know.
Yeah. And then when you're up there, do you get a teleprompter with your jokes on it, or do you have to do everything from memory?
It depends. Like Letterman, I think they had they use more like the boards, but the other ones like there were teleprompters,
Okay, so
So
you have,
some have more of an old-timey vibe where, they hold up the, what is that called? Cue
okay,
cards. Sorry, the
cue
cue
cards.
cards and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah, but the I think Fallon had teleprompter. I know Craig Ferguson had a teleprompter, but a lot of times they'll ask you, they'll just be like, do you want it? And sometimes it does throw me off. Like, I don't want to see my jokes in front of me because I want to be in the moment.
okay.
But if there's any part of me that thinks I might forget the order, it's nice to have that extra, like that security blanket where you can just look up and see, oh yeah, that's the
Yeah.
joke that I need to do next.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that. Yeah, I always kind of wondered about that. I'm like, are these comedians like reading off something, or are they really doing it from their head,
Oh, we're definitely doing it from our head because it's only like a word, it'll say like mother, boyfriend. It'll be like that. It won't be like word for word.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
So it really
that
is
never comes out naturally. Yeah.
okay. So it's truly a cue card.
Oh yeah,
Got it.
definitely.
Got it. So whose late night show have you enjoyed performing on the most? Do you have anything in particular you asked to have put in your dressing room night of?
Usually I like to have a drink after because, I don't drink before, and I'm like so excited that I got through it that, a lot of times I'll put like a bottle of something in there, which is clearly I'm like one and done. I'll have one drink and that's enough. But usually chocolate I love. I like to have little snacks, like healthy snacks, like carrots and stuff to just, pace and eat before. Because sometimes you're there for hours, I like to get there early. I was rushed for a couple of these, not these particular ones, but like other random TV spots I've done where they're like, you're in the makeup room and they're like, you have 5 minutes. I'm like, I just got into the makeup room. You cannot rush a woman with her makeup and her hair. Like, we like to have it all done. So sometimes you do, you just want snacks there. And for me, it's usually like, chocolate, maybe some healthy stuff in between.
Nice. Now I want chocolate. So, what was life like for you on the road? I mean, before COVID and everything, you're all over the place. I mean, did you prepare topical or locational jokes based on where you were going at the time?
Sometimes I do. Like I like to spend my time outside of my hotel room just to get a vibe of where I'm at, and it's so much better to do that because you really do pick up stuff and you want to relate to your audience. So it's just even if it's like a small town, and I go up on stage and talk about the local 7-Eleven and how it has this weird statue in front of it. Like, I'll find a way to add a joke into that and then, get that first laugh. Because those kind of laughs, those help warm up the audience, especially when they have this like outsider who's like knows their city now or their town.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to talk to you about Wanda Sykes. right? So you did a show with her, Wanda Sykes Presents Her Hilarious, which is hilarious.
Oh
So
my God, you did your research. That was a while ago.
yeah, yeah. How did you keep it together at her show? I mean, were you just always cracking up?
She is hilarious. And I actually ran into her last year at a festival. And I couldn't believe she remembered me, because I'm like, these famous people are so busy and they have so many people just talking to them all the time. And so she's very genuine and she's very funny. But I remember one of the things she said to me was like, "Oh my God, you're so tall. At least you trim your nostril hair so that like someone like me can't see them or something." And it was just so random, but it just cracked me up.
That's funny.
She's a funny one.
So right before COVID hit, you performed on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, which is amazing. Since you got your start on late night television, how has that compared to your debut?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I guess they're all exciting in different ways because the Letterman was, yeah, that was my first one. And, he was in New York City. And so I felt attached to that one because it was like my city.
Yeah.
And then, all the other ones you just slowly start to you feel more confident. They're equally as exciting, but they're just different. And I would compare them. I don't have children, but I would think it would be like that. Like they're all different, but you love them equally, kind of thing. Because they all have their own. Like Jimmy Fallon to me is so funny as an improviser and as a character. Like his characters are so. I love his Trump. I think
Yeah.
he's
Oh
so
my God.
funny as Trump, and I all that stuff. So every show that I did, it has its own like little magical feeling. And the Tonight Show, I mean, those three words, the Tonight Show, that's just something I've always wanted in my resume. So I was very, very excited to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I remember watching The Tonight Show as a little girl, and I had at the time a black and white TV on the floor of my bedroom. And I used to watch, The Tonight Show and then The Late Show and The Late Late Show.
Yeah.
And you see it, evolve over time where like the hosts change, but, the premise of the show doesn't really change. And it's really cool that over time, and, they always hold the same late night TV slots and everything. And always having different guests on and stuff like that. And I remember when Jimmy Fallon was, they announced he was going to be the new host. I was like, oh, that's so awesome. And I think it's really
Yeah.
cool that you were on the show. I mean, that must have been such a blast.
Yeah, it's weird to see. It's weird to see these people that you see on television and then see them in person. It's just it just kind of messes with your brain. Like, is this really happening right now?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very cool. It's very cool, but it's very weird.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. I've met a few famous people during my life, and it never seems to be exactly what you thought, or when you see them on TV versus meeting them in person.
Yeah.
I think you get this idea in your head, and then you meet them, and you're like, oh, they're a lot taller than I imagined, or they're shorter than I
Yeah.
imagined, or their makeup is totally different from what I usually remember it to be on TV.
That's true. And the makeup is different because, it's made to look natural on the screen. So sometimes, when they're standing in front of you, it almost doesn't look natural. And the same with when they do it to you. Like when I look at myself after they put makeup on me, I'm like, oh, this is a lot of makeup. But then you go on TV and you're like, oh, that looks good.
Yeah, yeah. I know about those, tricks. It's like they cake it on, and normally you would never do your makeup that way. But then it's all about the lighting and the shading and the different colors and tones. And then you see yourself on TV and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that worked. That looks
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, you can always tell when you've had a bad makeup person. And thank God for the late night shows I haven't, but I've done other random TV spots where I'm like, oh wow, this is not the right makeup person. Or I just look really tired. It's a gift, it's a skill to get that person to do it right. They really know what they're doing on those TV shows,
Yeah,
on most of them.
no, definitely. They know their stuff. So, even though the entire world has been dealing with this crazy pandemic, you've been able to stay pretty busy and focused on your career, which is great. So, you released your newest album, Vertically Obese, and I wanted to talk to you about that. I mean, how have things changed since you can't tour or promote it? Are you looking towards leveraging social media and YouTube and stuff like that? Or, like, what's your plan?
Well, this happened. One of my last road gigs before the pandemic was in Bloomington, Indiana, at a club called the Comedy Attic. And so I recorded that weekend, all my shows that weekend. And, the pandemic, people already knew. It was like end of February. People were starting to wear masks. It was back when they were still saying, like, you don't have to wear a mask, it's not a big deal. So people knew, like, I think I even bring up the word coronavirus in my album. And so when it started to get really bad, and I knew that things were not going to be normal for a long time, then I decided to, use that recording to make an album. And I'm glad I did, because, there's not that much we can do as comics besides social media right now. So it was nice to have something, exciting to promote. And it also, when you have an album and those jokes are released, it really does kind of push you to write new material, because I know for me and a lot of comics, like, we don't want to do those jokes on stage, because, who wants to come to a show and hear the same jokes that they did on an album? So it really does push you forward. It pushes you to write new stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I know what you mean, because you have to be careful of that too. It's like, oh, wait, I, came to see you live and you already talked about all this material. I already heard this before. And then it's like, it might be funny a second time, but maybe not as funny because you already heard it.
Right. Yeah.
But so you have your own podcast, The Human Centipede, with your partner, John. And you also have a Spanish podcast called Conversando con Carmen.
Nice. Yeah.
Thanks. How do you come up with your episode ideas?
Well, John and I started the Human Centipede when we were quarantined during the first wave in April with his family, and there were 8 of us in a house. So I've never seen the movie The Human Centipede, and I don't plan on it, but we just liked the title because we did feel stuck together in that house with so many people. And we just thought it was a funny title, and we would always have to record the shows in his mother's car, because that was the only place we could find some privacy and some quiet to record a podcast.
Nice.
And then once we left his family's house and came back to Queens, we just decided to continue recording it because we had so much fun. And now it's on Sirius, which is great. It's on a channel called She's So Funny, which is channel 771. So every Tuesday at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern time, they air our episodes, which is really fun. And it's very silly. And we just come up with, because we live together, we'll just do silly stuff and then be like, oh, we should totally talk about that on the podcast. And it's either games or music or, whatever. And then the Spanish one, Conversando con Carmen, is really just me interviewing people in Spanish, and it's fun because I never get to speak Spanish that often except when I talk to my mom. So it's just a fun way. Like, I've had comics, actors, directors on it. I just released the second episode. It's really, really new, but I've already recorded like 10. So it's just been really fun to just speak in Spanish for an hour to someone I don't know that well.
That's awesome. And I love the titles of your podcasts. They make you want to listen to them because the title sounds so catchy. So
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to read a couple. One of them, Our Sex Secrets. Hi, Mom. That one's pretty funny. And then you have That Goddamn Denise.
Oh, yeah. Oh
Um,
my God. It's fun to hear you say them because it just sounds so like different. You know what I mean? It's just funny to hear someone else say these titles that we come up with.
yeah, and then you had John breaks his mom's wrist, and then you had John breaks his mom's other arm.
Those are all true.
And this was random people we knew with glass eyeballs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I knew someone with glass eyeballs, and then he tells the story. So it's fun too, because you never know. He's a comedy writer, and he wrote many years on the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, and now he writes for different animated TV shows. So it's fun that we have different backgrounds, but we both like comedy. So it just gets very silly. And by the time we edit it, we don't know. By the time we edit it, then we know what to call it. You know, we can't decide that stuff up front because we don't know where it's going to go when we record it.
Yeah, and I didn't know where Rita Wilson was going to go either. So I want to ask you about that.
Yeah.
But and I think one of your latest episodes is Three's a Crowd with Jesus Christ.
Yes. That one just came out. Yep.
Yeah, that one sounds like a good one. So yeah, but you got some good ones. I love that because I'm in marketing, so I always appreciate good stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I like the next two that are coming out are really fun. So I don't think we've titled them yet, but they should be fun. They should have fun titles.
Nice. Well, yeah, I'm following you on there, so I'm going to be looking forward to the latest and greatest. So what's next for you? Do you have plans for another comedy album or webisode? Are you doing any virtual shows? Focusing on the podcast?
I'm definitely focusing on both of the podcasts, and I am writing. So I would love to. I think I could maybe have an album by some point in 2021, but I'm not sure. But I've also been really just pushing social media. I'm sort of addicted to TikTok right now. It's really fun. I've had like maybe 4 or 5 videos go viral, and it's just like so fun to be silly and come up with, ridiculous videos. It's like my favorite thing. And I've always been like that. I have a bunch on YouTube, but now it just seems like every year it gets easier with like green screens and editing and all that stuff. So that's where I am right now, is just making ridiculous videos on TikTok and posting them also on Instagram and all that. Yeah.
TikTok is where it's at. I'm really addicted to it too. I find
you are.
I am. I can't stop scrolling and I can't stop watching these videos, and I'm reading all these people's problems, and I'm like, I feel sorry for you. I've seen somewhat of these, and I'm looking at these videos, and I don't even know these people, and I'm like crying for them.
Yeah, it's funny too, because when I first started, I would just like everything, and then I was getting, I guess, the algorithm, changes or whatever.
Yeah.
And so everything was cats and babies. And I'm like, why am I just getting cats and babies? And now I'm just more, even if I love the video, I just have to selectively pick what I like, because I want different things to show up, and now I'm getting a lot of workout videos. So now I'm into that workout video algorithm, which is totally fine by me. But it's just a really fun place to watch videos. And I have to tell myself to just put my phone down and just stare at a tree or just like observe nature, because I don't want to just be on my phone all day, but it's so hard not to be.
No, I hear you. It's tough. It's like you just want to stare at these TikToks, and then some of them I'm trying to read them and they're going by so fast, I'm like, wait, slow down. There was a good one
Yes.
on, I have to send you some of the really funny ones that I love. My only gripe with TikTok is they need to offer more of a music selection for everyone who's making the videos, because everyone keeps picking the same Black Eyed Peas song and all these other like
Yes.
same stuff over and over. And I'm like, all right, I want to hear different music. Or it's like the Kenny Loggins song, or, it's like, it's one of 5 songs I keep hearing over and over again, or the one where everyone's laughing like really hard, but it's not them laughing. It's whoever dubbed that in, It's like,
Right.
so, I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah,
good
they
ones.
seem to be really into like trends on TikTok,
Yeah.
It's funny because when I first joined, I'm like, why is everybody doing the same thing?
Yes.
I just didn't get it.
Yeah. I was like, come on. At first I thought, they were unique. And then I realized it was different people picking the same songs. And then I was like, okay. Or wait, I know you know this one where they're playing the I think it is a Black Eyed Peas song, and then they're like they jump like on their way to go do something. They're like, this is me on my way to go scare my boyfriend. This is me on my way to go file for divorce. This is me on my way to, quit my job. Like, the one I'm talking about, and they do like the little
Yes,
pop
I
step
think
to the beat.
so. Yes, I think I saw that one a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, there's so many that I don't even know if I'm losing brain cells by just watching so many of them. And now I try to like not watch those and just like I keep skipping to the ones I really want to watch.
Yeah.
Someone told me that like the algorithm really changes if you watch the whole thing. So like sometimes they get really sad, and then you just get sad videos for like the next 48 hours. And I'm like, I don't want to watch any more sad videos. Like they just make me really sad.
Yeah.
So now I'm back to animals and exercise videos.
I know. I like some of the fitness tips, and there are some other cool tips that someone did about Amazon stuff, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to Amazon. I buy stuff from there every day on my phone, and I think there's really something wrong with me. But
it is fun to get packages.
I love it. I can't stop because it's so easy. I even buy toothpicks. I'll just be like, oh, Amazon. It's so easy. I don't even have to like go to the supermarket. I could just order toothpicks or slippers or toys or anything, that I want. I could just, something for my kid or, just buy presents or whatever. I just love it. So easy. And, you get it next day. I mean, it's perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah.
So is there anything else you'd like to share with us? And also, where can we find you on social media?
Well, for social media, everything is under the handle at Carmen Comedian. So that's TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Venmo. If people want to just throw money at me, that's great. But no, everything's at Carmen Comedian. And then the Human Centipod is on Instagram at Human Centipod. And Conversando con Carmen, if you have any Spanish listeners, that's the same. It's just at Conversando con Carmen. And then that's it. Just like watch my videos and my YouTube and all that fun stuff. And hopefully I'll be touring soon.
Well, you know what, Carmen, this has been so much fun. And thank you so much for your time today. I can't wait to watch
sure.
your routine. And, this has been such a blast. I'm really glad to have you on my podcast today.
Thanks for having me. And I'm glad it worked out.
Of course, my pleasure. You know what I did? I totally was sitting here like an idiot. And then I was like, why aren't you here yet? So I checked my email and I sent it to myself.
Oh, I've totally done that before. That's so funny. Oh, I hate those kind of days. That's so annoying.
It's
You're
so
like,
annoying.
where is she?
I'm like, where is she? And then I'm like, just for shits and giggles, let me go back and check. And I look on my phone and it said Melissa to Melissa. And I'm like, what the absolute fuck did I do? Just,
oh my,
you know what?
my God.
It's been a long week and it's been a long day. And I am just like out of my mind right now.
Oh, well, I wasn't laughing at you, just so you know. I'm laughing because I'm very familiar with that.
No, you should laugh at me because
So
what I did is just really silly. So, all right. Again, thank you so much. Be well, be safe, and I'll see you on TV and everywhere else pretty soon.
I hope so. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Thank you everyone for listening to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Marketing. Have a good day.